Hello and welcome to Business on the Wire. In an address to the nation, the Prime Minister announced that he would be unleashing and launching a large stimulus package for the economy as large as 10% of the GDP. Some of it would include schemes and efforts that had already gone into the system. So let's unpack the numbers a little bit and just try and figure out what the real impact might be of this 10% of GDP figure that's been talked about. There has already been one mini package that was announced by the government, so on the fiscal side, and there was of course a slew of measures announced by the Reserve Bank of India, the central bank. Most estimates tot that up to be about 5% of the GDP already gone into various schemes and forms in terms of some support to the economy. 8.4 lakh crores has actually gone in by way of what the Reserve Bank has done. 1.7 lakh crore was the fiscal package, the small one that was announced already. So the range of money that actually might still come into the system circles around the 10 lakh crore figure. But even within that, there are many who believe that the real cash element might actually boil down to just between 4 to 5 lakh crores. That brings us to the other big problem. What is the real spending? And by real spending, I mean the direct cash transfer. It is well known right now the size of India's workforce that is not structured, that does not receive any of the benefits that the middle class does, that really frankly lives literally below the system. In order to spur any kind of demand or activity back into the economy, it's important to put cash directly into their hands. And I think that will be the real test of the package that's been announced and the modalities and details that might be announced through the week by the finance minister. What is the real direct cash going into the hands of people to enable them to live, survive, and actually start spending a little bit? There is also another anomaly that needs to be cleared up on whether or not this money that we are talking about is a restatement of existing schemes or is actually a fresh stimulus coming in. Remember, at the time of the budget, the finance minister had already set a target of about 30 lakh crores. There is also that underlying 5-year plan of an infrastructure spend of 100 lakh crores. So do these schemes actually mean a restatement of existing plans and programs, or is it that the government is talking about a fresh round of money that they're going to pump into the system? I think that's the other detail that will unfold over the next couple of days and will indeed be quite crucial to what happens to the economy. There is an expectation or a hope that perhaps on taxation there will be some relief. I wouldn't hold my breath on that one. Remember, tax revenue or tax receipts have been quite poor, both in terms of GST collections, of course, in the last couple of months, but even on personal income tax collections, there's bound to be a lot of slippage. They are going to fall quite short of their tax target. Remember also, this is a very small catchment area we're talking about of people who are covered within the personal income tax bracket. So I'm not sure there would be any relief coming on that front. My final point is a point of consternation or concern. At a point where economies around the world are getting dredged and are literally trying to rebuild themselves from getting crushed, it seems quite odd that the Prime Minister should choose that moment to come out and talk about this being India's moment of glory, or that this is India rebuilding itself. Remember, we are not a country that was standing very tall on our economic frontiers. We have had 7 quarters of a slowdown, at which point we were hit by the COVID pandemic, as were economies across the world. So this is more about just being able to hold your house together, or even being able to stand up with some amount of crutches and make that slow process of rebuilding. I don't know whether this is either a great time or either a great initiative to talk about building or rebuilding great glory again, when you know that the situation on the ground is that things are in shambles. It's time to protect our MSMEs, it's time to protect our workers, it's also frankly time to protect most of the salaried class that has either seen job losses or has seen salary cuts. There will not be likely a huge burst in terms of either consumption. There were some odd comments made about thinking local but also becoming the global manufacturing hub. So I think all of this needs to find some kind of reset. And what did concern me was some comments about large-scale reforms in labor and land. At this point, what we've seen in states like MP and UP has not looked great. It has not been pro-labor, even though some of the corporate entities might believe otherwise. So I think there's a lot of deep digging and searching to do before we get to that point of what this fiscal stimulus package looks like. But to discuss the details of it is a man who's been tracking the space, or rather understand the space very, very carefully. Subhash Chandra Garg, who's former Finance Secretary of the Government of India, joins in to unpack some of these numbers with me. Thank you very much, as always, for joining in. First, we want to unpack a little bit of the math with you, Mr. Garg, because this is a position you've been in before. I want to understand where this 10% GDP figure came from in terms of the financial package that was announced, and also how much of it has already gotten into the system.
I think let's get it in the context. So we lost something like 70% of GDP for the month of April. Yeah. Then we probably are losing about 50% of GDP for the month of May. 70% of GDP in a month amounts to something like 13, 14 lakh crores. And if you add 6 to 7 lakh crores of this, so in my judgment, you have lost GDP of 20 lakh crores already in this year. Now, GDP is also income, right? So you have lost income, the income which is distributed amongst the workers, the capital, as well as the government in the form of taxes. So 20 lakh crores in that sense is a loss already incurred. Now you come up with a package of 20 lakh crores, which amounts to about 10% of GDP, or incidentally is close to the loss suffered by the economy already. Now, the way it works in theory is that if you provide a stimulus of 20 lakh crores additional demand, then probably you can make up for the loss of GDP, and then you can bring back the growth to more or less of the level which was expected at the beginning of the sort of year. Yeah. But now comes the composition. Stimulus can, in my judgment, be provided in two forms. One is you have a fiscal stimulus. So you provide more expenditures from the government side, which can be in the form of tax giveaways or more additional expenditure or distribution to the workers, to others, to MSMEs, so that is fiscal part of it. The other is the credit part, because credit also works in the economy as stimulus. So if you lend more to the businesses, then they can use that for investment as well as for sort of producing more goods and services. So that is the way the stimulus works. Now, how much of this is fiscal and how much of this is credit is not at this moment known. But there are some indirect hints which we can use for sort of deciphering this math, so to say. Only last week, the government increased the borrowings by about 4 lakh crores. Right? 12 lakh. So it was raised from 7.8 lakh crores to 12 lakh crores. So this is about 2%. So 4 lakh crores from the fiscal side. The government also earlier had announced that there would be expenditure cut, but it's not talking about that any longer. A package was announced for 1.7 lakh crores, and so no more expenditure compression. So it looks that if you stick to this part, which is reflected in the additional borrowings, then the fiscal package would be something close to about 4 to 5 lakh crores, at best 6 lakh crores. And the other hint which the Prime Minister gave in his address yesterday was that the measures taken by the Reserve Bank would also be counted as part of the stimulus package. As you are aware, the Reserve Bank, by means of various things, the TLTROs, these targeted long-term repo operations. Then there was a package of 50,000 crores for refinancing SIDBs and the NABARDs and others. There was also a reduction in the CRR, this cash reserve ratio and all. In all, about 6 lakh crores of measures have been announced. And I don't think I would count the additional ways and means limits to the government as stimulus, because that's only to the government, which uses it for its own expenditure. So excluding this, about 5 to 6 lakh crores of credit package or credit stimulus has already come, right? Now, there's been a lot of talk about giving more credit to the MSMEs, to the workers and all. So, there have also been some mention that you can do by providing additional, by providing some sort of guarantees to the credit lent to the MSMEs and others, or conventionally the government has been delivering it by means of providing some interest subvention. So my sense is that this remaining package, so if you break the fiscal to 5 to 6 and the credit to 14 to 15, with 6 lakh crores already delivered, the rest about 8 to 9 lakh crores should be the credit package. So that is the way I would sort of de-assemble the 20 lakh crores package.
So when he puts out that 10% of GDP figure, Mr. Garg, you would say the amount left to spend going ahead is between 5 to 7 lakh crores. That would be a fair estimate.
No, the amount to be spent by the government is about 5 to 6 lakh crores, which would take place during the course of the year. The borrowings are just starting. That additional borrowing of 4 lakh crores. There is another dimension to it which is not clear. There is definitely going to be sort of a shortfall on the tax collection.
Correct.
I have estimated this to be about 4 to 5 lakh crores. So initially, when the additional borrowings were announced, my sense was that it was to cover the revenue shortfall. Now, if the same amount is to be used for a stimulus, then surely there has to be additional increased borrowings. So then you might see that if another 5 to 6 lakh crores or more is for the expenditure portion, then out of the 20 lakh crores, maybe 10 lakh crores becomes the fiscal part, right? But these are all in the realm of sort of speculation, conjecture at this moment. We'll have to wait. Today, 4 o'clock is the first installment of the stimulus package. Let us see what comes out.
We will see through the week, of course. So, I just want to stay with the dynamics of this. And before we get into where and how it might be spent, is this accepted form, Mr. Garg? I mean, I'm not sure we've seen any global parallel where the central bank's efforts are counted into the stimulus package that the government announces. I mean, have you ever seen this included and bound together?
So this is then only a question of structuring it. The central bank's packages are definitely stimulus, because credit expansion is the way to stimulate the economy. There is no doubt about it. Mostly the central bank packages are announced by the central bank, as is the usual practice, not by the government. We have independent central banks who are supposed to manage the monetary and the credit side of it independently. So in that sense, from a purist point of view, the central bank's package should not be announced by the government. But then a lot of things get intertwined also. So if you say that you are going to provide 4% interest subvention for the loans given to MSMEs up to, let us say, 3 lakh crores or 4 lakh crores, then there is a fiscal part of it. The fiscal part is the interest subvention which you give. Or you say that we will stand guarantee for first 20% loss. Then it is still also there is a fiscal part. So a lot of thing gets intertwined and it becomes relatively difficult. By the way, we have in our country a tradition of lot of credit related issues or announcements being made in the budget. For many years, the farm loans, that this year how much farms loan would be lent or how much money would be transferred to the RIDF, this Rural Infrastructure Fund, by the banks for the shortfall in poverty lending and things like that, has been made part of the budget. So I don't see a break if the package which is going to be announced by the finance minister does take into account what the credit part or the monetary part or the liquidity part announced by the central bank.
Hmm. Uh, are you also clear, Mr. Garg, on whether or not this is fresh spending that is being talked about? I mean, as you mentioned, the budget has set out 30 lakh crores, I think, as in
Right.
terms of their target. They also had already talked about that infra spend over 5 years of 100 lakh crores. Are we clear that this is fresh money being spent, or is it a possibility that we just sort of move around existing schemes and reach the same figure?
See, the budget of 30 odd lakh crores, which has two main components, so two main sides of it. I have analyzed this, put it out earlier. There is a non-discretionary element where the central government has practically no control, and then there is a discretionary element. uh, uh, Salaries, interest payment, and things like that are all are non-discretionary. More than 50% of the budget is non-discretionary. The rest of the 50%, which is capital expenditure, centrally sponsored schemes, central government schemes, and things like that, is in a way theoretically discretionary. Though the way these programs are straitjacketed, they have so much of the fixed commitments. I don't find much of the discretion. So any stimulus or has to be additional. You can't save too much. That's why when I was initially mentioning that when the government came out early in April that we will reduce the expenditures in B category ministries to 20% and C category ministries to 15% in the quarter, I was quite skeptical and I said nothing will come out of it. No savings will be DA savings 10-15,000 crores. Those things are a small change. You can't count much of the expenditure savings, and therefore this has to be fresh spending. But the quality of that spending may be very different. If you say that we will give guarantees for 4 lakh crores of loans, 20% of loss, that loss is not going to occur or accounted for in the current year itself. So you may not end up paying anything. So you may not even provide for additional expenditure, or you may say that 4% of additional interest subvention. In that case, the stimulus may be 4 lakh crores, but the amount you need to provide is hardly about 16,000 crores. So my sense is that much of the package which will be announced on the fiscal side would also not have so much of cash outgo. Certainly, there would be some elements. I think this deserves to be paid. The workers, this 10 to 12 crore workers who have lost jobs, they need to be paid something in cash. That amount has been variously calculated, 1 lakh crores more. So there would be some component of cash, but bulk of it may still be guarantees, interest subventions.
What is the component that could actually make a real difference, Mr. Garg? Because I think that's the point everyone has put across. Just giving some kind of safety net in terms of interest loan relief for MSMEs, etc., is great. But what is the need of the hour is direct cash benefit transfers. What sum would actually make a real difference, to this entire universe that you just alluded to?
So I'll take you to my original comment. If you lost 20 lakh crores of output or income, it has to be a very close or a good percentage of it to be of meaningful. And that's a real expenditure, real flow into the hands of businesses and the households. Now, I would believe that anything less than 10 lakh crores of real either spending or the real credit flow, unless it is there, it would not make so much of a difference to my mind. Right? Uh, I must mention, so of the 6 lakh crores of package which the Reserve Bank announced, right, it has not translated into any flow of credit.
Correct.
In real sense. In April, we have the data for first 20 days. The credit has actually gone down by 1 lakh crore. While the Reserve Bank provided about 6 lakh crores of additional liquidity, the real flow is negative of the credit. And much of that money, including additional deposits, what has happened is that in the month of April, a lot of people who had savings, who would normally spend, couldn't spend on discretionary. So it ended up in the deposits in the banks. So in month of April, the deposits expanded by 3 lakh crore. Our annual expansion in deposits is about 10 to 11 lakh crores. So in 1 month, you had 25% of annual deposit expansion. This also is in a way indicative of demand contraction. You're not spending. So the real difference would be made by the real money transferred to the workers, to the MSMEs, to farmers for that matter. But more than the farmers, I think farmers already have it and they have not suffered as much loss on the crop side. It's basically the MSMEs and the workers. Unless you transfer a good hefty amount in cash to them, and they need it to spend. They have run out of their savings. They have run out of their cash. They're not even able to consume the essentials of life. So they would consume, that would be the stimulus which is working. And likewise, the credit, if it flows to the businesses and businesses invest it in production as well as in investment, then it works as the stimulus. Otherwise, it doesn't.
I'm just circling back to some of the figures you've talked about already, Mr. Garg. I mean, the fact that we've lost, 20 lakh crores in GDP already. We want to spend 5 to 6 lakh crores in terms of fiscal stimulus. We've upped our borrowing limits to 12 lakh crores because even on the tax side, there is a gaping hole. Where is the money coming from, sir? I mean, what are they going to turn to? Do you turn to just printing more cash? Or do you keep upping that borrowing limit? Because even that, beyond a point has consequences.
So it's somewhat weird in the weird situation. Normally, when you lose so much of output and income, there should be a stress in the banking system. The banking system should be short of liquidity. That is the normal way if there is a. But the way the whole thing works, that people who have money, who have incomes, who have savings, are not able to spend, and that is why it comes back to the banks as deposits. The credit which is required to be taken by businesses for starting the production, because the economy is under lockdown, or making new investments are not making it. So there is no credit offtake. So the result is that at this moment there is a lot of liquidity with the banks. And now when you have so much of money in the bank and there is no demand from the businesses and the people or households for consumption, it's very easy for the government to sort of borrow from the banks instead of monetization. Incidentally, in our system, the RBI is doing indirect monetization for last 4-5 weeks already. It's doing OMOs, it's doing otherwise. There was a switch done for the T-bills which were issued by the government. So as a result, about 3 lakh crore of expansion has taken place from the Reserve Bank side indirectly. So in short, to my mind, there is no apparent need for a direct monetization at this moment, because there is a lot of money available in the system for subscribing to the bonds. And the banks find it very convenient. This is risk-free. This is giving you a better return than the reverse repo deposits. So for some time, until the real demand picks up from the businesses for investment and for production, and from the consumers, the households for purchases, I don't see that there is actual need for direct monetization. But this time will come, if and it has to come, to make our economy work. If it doesn't come, it only means that the economy is not working. It's not producing. So it's a very good indicator if the liquidity remains in the banking system, despite the economy shuttering. It is indicative of the economy remaining in the lockdown, not into the production and investment mode. But if the liquidity goes down in the banking system, then it's good. And at that stage, the Reserve Bank shouldn't shy of direct monetization. The effect is same whether you do indirect monetization, you buy bank securities, banks get cash, and that cash is used for buying the government security. So the government security travels back to the Reserve Bank by an indirect route. So it's the same thing, but it doesn't matter, or it's preferable if that direct monetization takes place at that stage. But that stage is not there at this moment.
Which brings me to the entire MSME universe, Mr. Garg, which is clearly the one in the most pain. Now, at this point, reports indicate from the MSME minister itself that they are looking at creating some kind of a revolving fund, 1 lakh crore, which is put together by the banks that you said. It's an insurance or a safety net of sorts. A, do you think that's going to address the pain? And B, do you think that has already been added into this 10% of GDP mega package?
See, we already have a credit guarantee scheme operating in the MSME sector. It is for the micro loans and it is collateral free loans. I think the amount is 10 lakhs rupees, that if the banks give loans up to rupees 10 lakh to micro entrepreneurs, then they will not take collateral. And if there is a default, then this credit fund which the government has created will pay for it. Government transfers about 2,000 crores a year to this fund. Not much has been taken or utilized in this fund, which indicates that either the default has not taken place, which is more unlikely. Second, the banks have not recognized those defaults. You are aware that in last 1.5 years, there has been virtually a kind of forbearance for the MSME loans. The loans are not being recognized as non-performing and all. The indirect consequence of that is that there is no call, or there is very little call on this guarantee fund which the government has created. Now, if you take this idea further and say that was for micro loans, that we extend the same principle to the small and the medium, then it will work the same way. The government would be probably putting 1,000 to 5,000 crores into this fund, and that fund would be utilized only if there is default recognized by the banks. Right. There was another idea which was put out by some people saying that the government should create an SPV, and that SPV should fund the MSMEs. I think that's totally an unworkable idea. You can't create institutions like this. You can't create credit institutions to do it. And if you do it, if you use it only for refinancing, we already have Mudra type of institutions which is doing refinancing, right? So Mudra does the refinancing for micro loans. Mudra can be asked to do refinancing for the small loans as well. So I don't think that that the credit flow from the banking system, that is the only appropriate mode for real flow of credit. They can assess the credit risk. They can do other things. This is their business. It's the business of the banks to do lending, to provide credit to the businesses. It's not the government or a government-controlled entity to provide credit. So I don't think that would work. But as has happened for the micro loans, you may come up with the similar scheme for the small and the medium loans as well.
There is, of course, the also impacted middle class, Mr. Garg, and there is one observation saying that perhaps the government will this time provide some taxation relief, especially for people who have either lost their jobs or have seen significant salary cuts, because of the last couple of months. Do you think the government will provide any relief in taxation, given how poor tax collections have been up until now?
I don't think that's advisable for two main reasons. One, the tax system at the individual level only deals with a very small fraction of the workers. We have 40 crore workers in the system, but the tax is after that relief, which was granted for 5 lakhs in the budget of February 2019. I understand there are only about 15-20 lakhs individual taxpayers who are in that bracket. So that's a very small, even if it is 1 crore, let us say, of 40 crores, 1 crore is a very small. So you can't reach to the really affected workers. And these are the these 1 crores are those, as I was saying earlier, those who have incomes, their incomes are not affected. They are not able to spend much, and that is why the deposits in the system are going up. So I don't see a tax deduction route or a tax rebate route is a good way to reach out. Second reason, the tax relief is very slow to trickle down. You earn the income, then your TDS is deducted for you. That TDS would be reduced by some amount, and over a period of 12 months or something, that intended benefit will reach to you. Right? That is the way it can reach. For these vast majority of people who are affected, the need to get the cash or the support is now, not. So number one, a lot of people who need assistance are not in the tax system, and secondly, it's a very slow delivery mechanism. So I don't think this route is a right route to be used for providing the necessary support.
One final question, Mr. Garg, on where this leaves India's fiscal deficit situation. That's been opening up as we speak. Some of the numbers have been quite confusing to say the least. Where do you think we're headed to on that figure?
So you had 3.5% of the headline fiscal deficit announced as part of the 2021 budget. There was also off budget, so about 1.5% or about 1% of GDP was off budget. So the actual fiscal deficit, in my judgment, was about 5%. Now, if you add the likely shortfall on tax of at least about 1.5% to 2% of GDP, and the additional expenditure of 2 to 2.5%, if you take only 5 lakh crores as the fiscal additional expenditure, it simply means that the fiscal deficit for the year would be about 10% of GDP. Now, that is a large number, but we have seen such things earlier, and this is in some way represent the cost which the government has to bear for the decision to put the most stringent lockdown in the country, causing loss of income of about 20 lakh crores. The choice that you don't incur such fiscal deficit, that can be exercised, but the consequence of that choice are still worse. This will lead to deflation. The economy would got further shut down. The capital investment will sort of get killed, and we will put the economy into a lower spiral of growth